Hey everyone, Reverend Elvia
and Reverend Peter.
And welcome to October Sunday Morning Grace. Peter and I are on the Outer Banks of North Carolina, and just kind of at the tail end of a pretty wonderful road trip that started in Norfolk, Mass, went through New York, the Finger Lakes, and Cleveland, and spent a bunch of time at his family farm in southern Indiana, and then Lexington, Kentucky to Richmond, Virginia, and now here. And not sure where we're staying.
But I want to share
tomorrow
just the view that we have.
Yeah.
Here we're looking over a huge sound that
the Albemarle Bay.
The woman that owns this place and runs this place, she said, I live I grew up 100 miles up the sound, so you can guess how big it is, because 100 miles is quite a distance.
And a lot of it is fresh water, because it's rivers that all come into this bay, so it's kind of cool, and it's a very special area. Anyway, we wanted to film so you could see that, but then you couldn't see us. So anyway, this month we are talking about legends and really exploring those people, those influences in your life that inspire you, have left a mark, have helped you navigate challenging times, whether it's what we're navigating all together right now with COVID and climate change and sort of all the things that are in our worlds right now, or whether it's just more relationship stuff or health stuff, or more just kind of from a personal front. But really digging into the strength and the fortitude that those people in your life, whether it's family members, ancestors, or just teachers that you've had, or whoever it may be, really digging into and focusing on those influences in your life, to bring those to the forefront, so you can really lean into that right now.
Absolutely. And I think really, if you pause and think about those things, it can kind of help you take it to another level. Like just this exercise of thinking about today, I feel already has helped me to sort of take that message, that lesson, to a different level, and incorporate that more into my life.
So there were two themes that each of us got, and you want to go first?
Sure, I'll go first. So when I was thinking about this, I sort of went down the ancestry path, and what have I inherited from my ancestry? And when I pause and think about it, I see all these teachers in my family tree. Before kids, my mother was a teacher. My oldest brother was a teacher. My nephew is a teacher.
Two of your nephews.
Two of my nephews are teachers. My sister-in-law is a teacher. My sister's a teacher. And I started thinking about that, but the two teachers that kind of popped out were my father and my grandmother. Now, my father was a chemical engineer by profession, and I think a lot of what he did was sort of individual work. Or at least he evolved into when I knew him, he was a specialist on chemical processes, so it was a little bit more of a solo job, so not really teaching. But in his other life, he was a Boy Scout scoutmaster for 25 years. And so obviously there's a lot of mentoring and teaching in that. And one of my very, very vivid memories is we were driving along in a car, and I was working on a citizenship merit badge, and we were talking about people's rights. And he just said to me, a person's rights go as far to the point where they're not infringing on other people's rights. And for me, that was a very valuable lesson that could be, you could bring it into the argument of guns and gun possession. You could bring it into the argument of your right to play music or your right to right for free speech, all of those things that can come to controversy. And I think if all of us heeded my father's advice, if we thought about that in the moment, our rights extend until we're stepping on somebody else's rights. And obviously that's a real gray line, but I think it would help all of us have a more balanced approach to some of these issues that become controversial or become heated.
Even having that awareness, I think.
Having that in your consciousness, because it could, we all get carried away with different things, and it could make us pause and, oh, you know what, I can see their side of the story, or I can see their side of why this is making them uncomfortable. So he was a teacher in a not an identified role necessarily, but he wasn't a preacher. He was a teacher, and he was a deacon in the church, and he would from time to time give short speeches. And again, I don't feel like he ever tried to say this is the way it is. He just used examples to illustrate whatever point he was trying to make. The second is my grandmother, and I got to know her. My awareness of getting to know her was probably when she was around 87 or 88. She was 81 when I was born, or 82 when I was born, and then she moved in with us when she was 90, and I lived with her under the same roof for 4 years. And she was a teacher, not professionally, but just in the way she lived her life. And I remember we went to her 100th, by her 100th birthday, she'd moved back to Nebraska, and we went to her birthday party. And the preacher from the church that she went to for many years, his wife came up to her and said, "Oh, Jessie, we didn't think you'd make it this long." And she was like, "I'm not ready to stop living yet." And she lived 102 and a half, but
God bless her.
Her thing was, she'd wake up every morning and she would say, "I love to live." And you didn't even really have to hear her say that. She actually went to our church for a while, and I would hear the other women that, they would have circles where they talked about different things, and I would hear the other women in the church talk about like what an inspiration she is. Just nothing special, but just her vibrance, her love to live. At this point, she had lost 4 out of 7 of her children. She'd lost her husband, and she just kept going. And she would wake up every morning, "I love to live." And
Did she literally say that? I mean, like, was that her mantra?
Yes, absolutely. She said
there's
that.
A little pointer, huh? Wake up and say that.
And another time we were talking about, like, people would ask her what's her secret, and her big thing was moderation. She's like, too much water is not good for you. And so just, again, it was just the way that she lived her life. She was a teacher. That anybody that knew her could learn from her in the way she carried herself through her life.
I never knew her, but Peter talks about her a fair bit, and she's certainly an inspiration by way of you and your family, and definitely feel her influence, which is pretty amazing.
And
a lot of stories,
and it's just such a gift for me that I got, 4 or 5 years I got to spend with her every day, pretty much. And
yeah, that is special. So when you were talking about your dad, it reminded me of my father, who's not the core inspiration I will share with you all today, although of course, he was a big inspiration, a big part of my life. But I remember feeling, I went through this period where I was troubled that we didn't have any kind of religious roots in our family. loosely belonged to Unitarian Universalist Church. And when I'd ask my parents, what religion are we, they'd always say Christian. But there was never really any practice other than the holidays, and those weren't really a religious experience. It was more just tradition that had been handed down, but there wasn't, any kind of focus on Christianity during those holidays. And so, I'd ask Dad, where do we consider church? And I still remember to this day, and I don't remember exactly where we were, but we were outdoors, and he this is our church. Like, we don't need a building. That this is our church. And that really left a mark on me, similar to what you said your father said. It's like, and then I learned later, when I became ordained myself, that my father was the first one on the Bailey side of the family not to, or maybe it was his father was the first one not to be a minister. So there's this long history on my father's side, starting with the founding of Yale University. Actually, it was founded by a minister that was in my family lineage. So, yeah, it's there. Just like you with teaching, it's there.
And you're making me think, as Elvia described, we spent some time at our tree farm in southern Indiana, and we did go regularly to church, but we would often be down there on the weekends, and so my father would not a lot of construction went into it. We would find a place in the woods that was like a sanctuary, with a tree stump for a pulpit and a couple of fallen down logs that we would sit on. And honestly, we wouldn't really, there wasn't a lot of, reading of scripture or whatever. It was more about just taking time to enjoy the church of nature.
And to reflect, I imagine.
And to reflect, oh yeah.
I love that. So, the person who I just feel is so with me right now, we often talk about October, the veil between the worlds being thin this time of year, and whether you believe that strictly or not, I do think it's a beautiful opportunity to really tune into those who feel very present. And right now, it's my stepmother Claire who feels very present. And I think part of it's because there are a lot of animals around here. There's a family of raccoons that's there. A great blue heron flew in yesterday. There's other birds. We haven't seen them, but there's dolphins that hang out in this bay. So there's a lot of animals. And Claire was all about nature, all about the animals, and she had this beautiful camp up in Maine that our family would go visit every summer for 25 years. And it was a big part of our children's childhood. It was a big part of our lives. And Claire was always teaching, because you'd walk through the woods and she'd be like, and that's the white baneberry, and that's the whatever mushroom. And if she didn't know, she would go back, and she had her library of books in the cabin that we would pour through. And when all that was done, she had a collection of the Thornton W. Burgess books there that we would read to the children, which are stories about animals, but also they're educational, so you learn about the actual animals. And she was always had an eye on learning, on being curious, on staying curious. And I was saying to Peter this morning, I've thought about it, but I haven't thought about it this directly before. The impact that she left on our children and continues to stay with them is huge. Like, I can't even imagine what their lives would be like if she hadn't been part of it, because she was always so involved as a grandmother to them and teaching them games, card games. Oh my God, the number of times we played hearts
hearts, cancellation hearts.
Oh, they hated cancellation hearts. But puzzles.
Cribbage.
Yeah. She just was this influence and this inspiration for both of us and our children to always be curious, to learn about nature. We'd go up into the field and look at the stars, and she'd be like, and that's Cassiopeia, and that's the dog star, and that's,
And she always had a bit of a sense of humor about it, because sometimes it'd be, and that's the morel mushroom, which is edible, but don't get it confused with the such and such mushroom, which is highly poisonous.
Right. I remember when Orlena was 2 or something, she came fascinated with these little white berries that are baneberries, which are poisonous, and we didn't know whether or not she'd actually eaten any, so it became a whole thing.
And you couldn't get a 2-year-old a straight answer from a 2-year-old,
right?
Because she didn't know what. She didn't exactly understand, and she didn't, I think, feel like she knew what the right answer should be.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
And she was very adventurous. So they traveled a lot and explored the world, and in a way that was just very curious and always interested in the people, always interested in, the culture of the places that she visited, and she would bring that back as a gift to everybody in conversations that followed.
Well, and she instigated several trips. Queen Mary II across the Atlantic, trip to Montana. There's probably numerous other ones that I'm forgetting, but she was always engineering some trip and bringing family members along to help them explore their curiosity.
Share the legacy. Yeah. I still remember to this day this pink fungus, I think, that lives in the snow. And it smells like watermelon. I don't know if you can eat it, but anyway.
No. Well, you can't eat the snow, but it causes gastro problems.
So you don't want to do
They
that.
were like, you don't want to eat that snow.
But anyway, so she was always finding these really interesting aspects. And actually, I think it's a big part, especially of Orlena's world, because Claire would bring in books from her childhood. The whole Wizard of Oz was a big thing for Orlena. The Wizard of Oz series and Daddy Longlegs and all these books that were a big part of Claire's childhood, in addition to the Thornton W. Burgess she brought to our children. So anyway, she's my inspiration, especially, I think it's important to hold on to these things, the teacher thing, the inspirations, especially when we're in this time that feels like so many challenges are coming at us, to I'm hearing, to levitate our spirits, to raise our spirits.
And, going back to my grandmother, if you can embrace that I love to live, despite, losing family members, losing children, and the day after something tragic or something bad happens to you, obviously that's going to be a little bit muted, but if that's like a coal burning inside you, that I love to live, what's the adventure tomorrow or today, then the coal, through trials and tribulations, that coal can reignite, and what a wonderful gift if you can latch on to that.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's a great practice for those of you who are inspired to adopt, is to try that out. Try it for, I don't know, someone's saying 44 days. I love to live. Try it for 40 days and see how it shifts things, or however long. All right, so anything else you want to share? We don't have any cards. Well, you picked one. Actually, you picked one this morning from the Angels Teach website. So
Life. Which fit with a theme. I didn't know it was going to connect in here, but I was asking more of a personal question, but I guess it can spread for all of us, and it was about it's really about being in the moment. That, you know, life is a journey, and we're in this moment, and we can get trapped in thinking about tomorrow, thinking about next week, thinking about next year, or thinking about the past.
Right.
But what's really here right now is this moment.
Exactly.
There's a, I don't know if you can hear it, but there's a plane going by overhead that sort of is the siren or whatever, the emphasis on it.
Yeah. And that card, Life, is actually a picture of a dahlia, beautiful, beautiful dahlia garden in Mason's Island in Mystic, Connecticut. And I took that photograph, and it's just so full of life. And we are in each moment as we allow ourselves to be. And I think that's a really beautiful. We didn't need a card deck. That was there for us. All right.
Are we ready for the tenets?
I think we're ready for the tenets.
So join us as you wish, or just let the words pour in.
And notice if they're, we sort of talk about this, but I don't think we have recently. If there's a particular tenet that you stumble on, or just screams at you, or, you just feel that extra in your heart, pay attention to that, because that's your angels, that's Source, God, life, pointing an arrow at it for you to think about, for you to maybe ponder a little bit more deeply. All right, let's do it.
Well, this is take 2 because computer froze while we were doing the tenets, so I guess Spirit wanted us to practice.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go back. I'll put it in the post. I'm going to have to go back and see at which tenet it froze.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. Little extra message for today, perhaps.
That and are they June bugs? Because somebody started.
Yeah, somebody
singing.
was screaming.
Yeah.
It started.
All right.
Anyway, here we go.
I open my heart with deep gratitude and intend today to master my spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical energies. I am dedicated to my spiritual practice. I surrender to my soul's purpose through sacred prayer. I own my guidance. I live in partnership with my angels. I serve with a loving heart. I am compassionate in every moment. I trust it's all good. I allow immediate forgiveness. I honor my truth. I listen to the spiritual messages within my physical body. I express myself creatively. I am one with Mother Earth.
And so it is.
And we didn't freeze again. I thought we froze again. Sorry, everyone.
We're still here.
We're still here. So with that, so much love to each and every one of you. Embrace those that inspire you, whoever they may be. Blood, not blood, four-legged, finned, whatever it is that inspires
Childhood
you.
hero, whatever.
Yes.
Whatever it is, and we're gonna send you a little. Just a little quick. We're gonna send you a little.
Well, wait. I just have to say this one thing. This podcast we were listening to, this woman said she went into her whole field because of Captain Planet.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Captain Planet, he's our hero. Anyway.
Well, and our daughter is pursuing things like that, and she was
Big Captain Planet
fan at the time.
So whatever it is that inspires you. And yes. Go ahead.
Healing water. Healing ocean. Mother ocean.
Yeah. It's gorgeous. Really beautiful here. So with that, be one with Mother Earth. We love you so much. Be well.
Blessings and love.